Welcome back to the studio. I'm working on another little embryo today. This one is a big ceramic blue pot filled with sunflowers and daisies and petunias. And a little hummingbird has come to visit. So I'm going to start working on the sunflowers. And this is mixtures of cadmium yellow medium and my mud, which is 2 parts of ultramarine blue plus 1 part of alizarin crimson. And then this is the same mixture with a little orange mixed in. And I'm letting my brush, my background is cadmium red medium plus some alizarin crimson, and I'm letting some of that color come into my petals on my flowers. And I just am painting these wet into the background, and that gives me just that soft feel of the edges of the petals. I just want them to kind of just flow into the background. And I've saved my background color so that if I need to come in, I can come back in and work around the flowers. Actually, I think I'm going to have some greens up in there, but just want to go ahead and get these flowers started to block in. I just kind of work back and forth. But I pull from the center of the flower out. And I'm using what we call a bright brush. It's got a square end, and I can use the side of the brush to make these flower petals. This is a very versatile brush. Brushes are very individual. Some people like filberts, some people like rounds. This is just a brush that works very, very well for me. It may not for you, again, that's just, it's very individual. Now this flower is my hummingbird. I want to look at my reference material over here. This is my flower for my hummingbird, and I've got my reference material on the laptop next to my easel. And the sun's hitting the petals. We're going to see some of the petals behind, and then some of the petals come in front. So these are the petals in behind, but they're catching the sunlight. So the hummingbird's beak will be kind of silhouetted against those lighter petals in the background. Then the foreground petals are a little bit darker because the sun's not hitting these. These are more in shadow, and so they're a little bit darker. And I've added even a little bit of my red in there to get the darkness in there. And now these start on this flower here. I just want to block in my flowers first and leaves last. I do the flowers first so that my color stays nice and clean and crisp. You'll notice when I start bringing the leaves in that your brush will pick up some of that surrounding color. So if I did the leaves first, then when I was doing the flowers, I pick up some of that green and muddy my color of my sunflowers, or actually any of the flowers that I'm painting. So this is how I've learned over the years. The best way I've learned to keep my flower color nice and pretty. Now I want to do on this one, since I'm painting over that center, I'm going to go ahead and put the center of the flower in and use a little smaller brush. This is a mixture of my mud plus liquid, and again the mud is 2 parts of ultramarine blue and 1 part of alizarin crimson. So I've got my center in there, and now these petals, and these also are, these are getting more of the sun. Sun's coming in from the upper left. And I'll have to come back after I paint the green leaves. I'll have to come back and do more work on these flowers. But this kind of gets them blocked in so I know where they're going to be. I want to have the layout of my flowers, have that design in there established. And again, I'm using a little bit of that red just to bring some color into those sunflowers. But you can see how I'm using the corner of the brush to make some of those finer strokes. I can use the broad edge to cover a large area, or the smaller corner to then cover a smaller. Like here I can bring some of these brush strokes in here with the corner of the brush. Now before I put the centers in, I'm going to start bringing some of my greens in here. Let me mix a little bit. I want to make a mixture of phthalo blue plus white. This just gives me a nice cool color in the depth of the foliage. And again, that just kind of drops back and it accentuates the warmth of the sunflowers. So I just want to bring some of those cooler blues back in here. Like I said, I'll come back in and do a little more work on these flowers. I just wanted to get my initial colors blocked in there. Here I have a leaf coming out into the background. I want to get some of my background color. Love that stroke. So let's see if I can keep it and work the background color around it. These are going to be little daisies popping up around there. Got that edge pretty good. Now let's get this edge here. And you can see how I'm using that corner of the brush to work around that. Let's do a little bit of red in there and bring a little bit of this red there. Okay. Now I've kind of popped a little bit of that front point off of that leaf. So let's see if we can get that back in there. Now I just pull my brush sideways to get that. There we go. That gave us a nice little pop of color in there. I want to come back in here just, there we go. Now, just want something, that's a happy accident. And when something like that happens, you want to keep it. So I just put a little stem there over to the main stalk of that sunflower. Now I just go ahead and start putting some of this color in here. I'm going to have petunias right in there, oranges and pinks and just nice hot colors. Gonna have a leaf here breaking out over the flower pot. And again, I can just pull that. That makes me a nice brush stroke there. A little bit darker right in there. You can use the edge of that brush to really make some nice leaf shapes and work some darks in here. Now my daisies will be in behind these sunflowers, so I'm leaving that area. I'll paint them back in there. This is painted on a cradle panel. It's made by ampersand, like the and sign symbol. And I buy these through jerrysartorama.com. And they're just really fun to paint on. It's fun to do some little pieces now and then that just my collectors really like them, and just they're fun to paint. Quick and just a lot of fun. Have a little leaf up here. And the bottom of this, the base of this sunflower. I know calyx, I think, is the right term, but I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me. This term came to mind. And then the little stalk. And this will have a stem, and then this one will have a stem that comes here. I'm going to make that a little bit lighter. And just put some little pops of blue in there, just to add some nice little coolness in the foliage. Now let's put the centers in my sunflowers. And this is my mixture of my mud. And I let my brush pick up some of the yellow in there. And I bring that into the center of the flower just to give it some little brown tones. And then the very center of the sunflower is darker. You can see how this autumn all of a sudden starts really looking like our sunflowers. This is painting sunflowers. This is always the fun part because, boy, they really, even though I haven't gone back in and painted the rest of the flower petals, it really starts looking like a sunflower. I think, I want to show the back of that one. So let's just put the greens in here of the back of the sunflower. That'll accentuate those petals on this one, on the one that's more in front. Again, on these smaller paintings, one or two little brush strokes really say a lot. We've got 7 sunflowers. You'd like to have an odd number. Just gives the painting a nice balance. And that's in any design. I know, house things and stuff. You just putting things out. You want to do things in odd numbers, not even. This seems to be more visually pleasing. I'm sure there's probably some scientific reason for that. It looks good. That's good enough for me. Okay, let's get our bright brush back. I want to put a little leaf going off there. Some darks in there. There's again going to be petunias popping up in here. Now what we want to do is take this is cadmium yellow medium with just a tiny bit of lemon yellow in it and a little bit of white, just to give us a really bright yellow. And the sun's coming from the left, so it's going to be hitting these petals on this side. I'm also going to be using some cadmium yellow medium in there. I don't want them all to be the same yellow. Flowers have variations in the colors. You can see how I pull that over the reds, over the greens, and I have to be very, very careful pulling that color over the green. This is going to get some sunlight hitting this one. Okay, see how my brush picked up that green? So I have to wipe my brush. I go through a lot of toilet tissue, and a few weeks ago when the COVID-19 stuff first started, I could not find toilet paper for painting. It wasn't for going to the restroom, it was for painting. And fortunately I had some really good friends who found some and brought it to me. I mean, who would have believed that a package of toilet paper would be a cherished house gift, or studio gift, I guess is the way to say it. Now, this flower, remember how we painted those petals lighter? I'm going to add a few more light strokes in there because this is going to highlight where our little hummingbird is. And there's going to be some sunlight hitting up here. Now I don't want too much. I've got that a little too bright because I don't want this to lead your eye off of the painting. I think I'm going to darken that a little bit. Don't want that as bright. In fact, I'm even going to bring a little bit of our reds into that, just to make this a little bit darker right there. I will bring this highlight lighter here. These petals are coming more toward us. But you can see how I'm using the corner of that brush to make those petals. Now the flower in the back just gets a titch of color back there. Don't want much highlight on that. And this one here either, because it's in the shadow. It will get a little bit of light right there. This one gets more. I pulled some green into that. You have to be very, very careful. You have to just lightly pull your brush. And then get a little more light. This one's going to get quite a bit of light on it. And then this one down here, again, the petals here are in shadow, but these get the majority of the light there. Now I need to come back and fix my centers, particularly I think just mainly this one up here because I painted into it when I did those petals behind. And that pops the center of the flower. And then I'm going to bring some of these colors down in here. And the center is going to be darker. So that's how I paint the sunflowers. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also visit my blog. You can subscribe to that. And I know many of you have asked me several times, where's the rest of this painting? I'd love to see how it looks finished. Well, if you will go to my blog, the link is in the description below. The address is also on the final frame of my YouTube video. If you will go to my blog, I show the complete step-by-step process of this painting. So I really appreciate you following along today. Please be safe. Keep your mask on, keep your social distancing. COVID is out there. We have to be very careful. In our area, in Texas, we are beginning to see the COVID cases going up. So please remain vigilant and just practice all of your safety procedures. You have a wonderful, wonderful day and happy painting. Thank you again for visiting the studio.